We often think about World War II in terms of these huge armies, right? Global strategies.
Yeah, the big picture stuff.
Exactly. But underneath all that, there are just millions of individual stories, real people.
And each one, yeah, it's a testament to the human spirit under, well, unbelievable pressure.
So today we're doing a deep dive into one really powerful example of that, looking at Kristin Hannah's novel, The Nightingale. It's incredibly popular.
It really is. And what we've got to work with today, it's mainly information pulled from the book's Amazon page.
Okay.
So that gives us, the synopsis, a whole range of reviews, critical ones, customer ones, plus bits about the author, publishing details, that kind of thing.
So the mission here isn't just to summarize the plot.
No, not at all.
Okay.
We want to really dig into why this book hit home for so many people. Like, what's the core of its impact? Think of this as your quick guide to understanding a really significant piece of historical fiction.
Got it. Okay, so the setting. It kicks off in France, 1939. The Nazi invasion is looming, casting this huge shadow.
Right. And we're immediately introduced to these two sisters, Vienne Mauriac and Isabelle Rossignol.
And straight away you see they're very different people, right? In totally different situations as the war clouds gather.
Absolutely. Vienne, she's in this quiet village, Carriveau. She's saying goodbye to her husband, Antoine, who's off to fight.
Probably like so many women at the time, maybe not fully realizing how bad things are about to get.
Yeah, perhaps not grasping the sheer speed and brutality of it all. Then you've got Isabelle.
The younger sister.
Yeah, in Paris. She's more restless, rebellious, definitely. Already kind of searching for purpose in a world that's, about to explode.
And the war hits them in completely different ways. Vienne ends up in this just unthinkable situation.
Yeah, she's forced to have a German captain billet in her house.
In her own home, with her daughter there.
Exactly, just to survive, to protect her child. It's this constant, tightrope walk with the enemy literally under her roof.
Wow. And Isabelle. Her path is quite different.
Totally. She takes a more active resistance route. There's this incident, a betrayal involving a partisan,
Right.
and that sort of fuels her. She channels all that youthful energy, that passion into the resistance.
So she gets involved in dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
Helping people.
Yeah, increasingly so. It's a path of, open defiance.
Yeah.
Taking real risks.
And what seems really striking about the novel, based on what people say, is its focus on the women's war.
Exactly. That term comes up a lot. It really shines a light on the contributions and, frankly, the immense hardships women faced.
Stuff that often gets, overlooked in the traditional war narratives, right? The tanks and the battles.
Precisely. It's a perspective that isn't always front and center. It definitely makes you think about all those stories that maybe haven't been told.
Yeah, it does. And you can see that focus resonated because the book was huge, commercially speaking.
Oh, absolutely huge. #1 New York Times bestseller, Wall Street Journal Best Book of the Year. I mean, that kind of success tells you something.
It tells you it tapped into something. Right. A desire for these kinds of stories.
Definitely. And it wasn't just sales. The critical acclaim was pretty significant, too.
Right. I saw got Goodreads Best Historical Novel of the Year.
Yep. And the People's Choice Favorite Fiction Award, #1 Indie Next Pick.
Plus Best Book of the Year from places like BuzzFeed, The Week. Quite a list.
It really is. It's quite the collection of accolades.
And it makes sense when you think about Kristin Hannah's broader reach, too. Like, there's a movie adaptation of The Nightingale coming.
Right, and she had that successful Netflix series based on Firefly Lane.
So she clearly knows how to craft stories that connect with a massive audience across different formats.
She certainly seems to have that ability, to tap into something compelling.
So when we sift through all the reviews, the critical ones, the reader feedback, what are the big themes that keep popping up? What's at the heart of this story?
Well, several core ideas come through again and again. Family Circle's review mentioned courage, brutality, love, survival.
The big ones?
The really big ones, yeah. And also that fundamental question of, what makes us human when everything's falling apart?
How people are tested, basically.
Exactly. And how they respond to those tests.
And there's this recurring idea, too, of resilience. The human spirit, but especially, it seems, female strength.
Yes, definitely. The durability of women, their endurance. It seems to highlight both the quiet resilience.
Like just getting through day by day.
Yeah, those everyday acts of just keeping going, maybe small acts of defiance, but also the more overt kinds of courage, too.
So different kinds of strengths.
Multifaceted, yeah. And then there's love and strength and how they intertwine during war, how love can be a motivator, a source of sustenance.
And sacrifice, too, I imagine, and the fight for freedom.
Absolutely central. Those themes of sacrifice, what you give up, and that deep, deep longing for freedom, they seem crucial to both sisters' journeys.
Some of the specific review snippets really paint a picture. Christina Baker Klein called it haunting, action-packed, and compelling.
Yeah, that gives you a strong sense right away, doesn't it?
It does. And there was that quote from Dr. Miriam Klein-Kasanoff.
Oh, from the Holocaust Teacher Institute.
Yeah, saying, absolutely riveting, read this book.
Yeah.
Coming from her, that carries, real weight.
It suggests it handles the history with authenticity and power.
Sarah Groen said it was beautifully written and richly evocative. That points to the quality of the writing itself, how immersive it is.
Makes you feel like you're there, right? In occupied France.
Totally. And USA Today just went with a heart-pounding story. Simple, but effective. Tells you about the suspense, the emotion.
And Anne Rice, she loved it too, called it an enormous story, richly satisfying, which again speaks to the scope and the depth.
Some phrases really jumped out as relevant for, listeners who want that solid understanding without maybe reading all 600 pages right now.
Like what?
Like Kirkus Reviews calling it a respectful and absorbing page-turner. That balance seems key, right? Respectful of the history, but still gripping.
That's a great way to put it. And the Jewish Book Council mentioned it being tender, compelling, a satisfying slice of life in Nazi-occupied France.
So intimate somehow, even within the big historical picture.
Yeah, relatable human stories. And Shelf Awareness pointed out the high-stakes plot and lovable characters. That combination is usually pretty potent.
Definitely keeps you invested. And People magazine summed it up as powerful and unforgettable portrait of love and war.
High praise all around, really.
And then you look at the customers, the readers themselves, the numbers are just staggering.
Yeah, what was it? Over 350,000 ratings?
357,939 with a 4.7 average. That level of positive response is, well, remarkable.
It really is. It suggests the book tapped into something almost universal, or at least a perspective people were hungry for. Maybe focusing on those individual struggles makes it so powerful.
And what did the readers specifically highlight? What themes came up in their comments?
Readability was a big one. People called it unforgettable, beautifully written, powerful, emotional, just the lasting impact.
The story sticks with you.
Seems like it. And the suspense, too. Lots of mentions of it being captivating from the start.
And how it weaves the fiction together with the real history.
Right, seamlessly blending fiction with real war events. People seem to appreciate that integration.
And the characters, especially the sisters.
Huge positive. Lots of praise for the moving portrayal of strength and resilience, particularly the women. It sounds like readers really connected with Vian and Isabel.
You feel like you know them.
That seems to be crucial, yeah. Readers felt their strength was believable, maybe seeing ordinary women finding extraordinary courage.
That resonates. What about the writing itself?
High marks there, too. Descriptions like eloquent, lyrical, sweet prose, skillful storytelling, historical depth. It sounds like the way it's written really elevates the story.
Enhances the emotional punch.
Absolutely. And that emotional content is clearly intense. Words like heart-wrenching, even gut-wrenching pop up.
So it doesn't shy away from the tough stuff.
No, it seems to capture the sorrow and brutality of war quite vividly. Evokes a whole spectrum of emotions.
But it's not just bleak, is it? People also found it.
Thought-provoking, yeah. A stark reminder of historical events, but also, interestingly, inspiring and uplifting.
How so?
It seems to offer a story of redemption and perseverance, ultimately. Leaves you with something more than just the horror.
A sense of hope, maybe?
Perhaps. And the storyline itself, especially the family dynamics, the bond and complexity between the sisters really resonated.
That relationship sounds central.
Very much so. Along with those core themes woven throughout love, bravery, fear, compassion, how war kind of magnifies all those human experiences.
It is interesting, though, that there was some mixed feedback on the pacing.
Right. Some found it passionate, others felt it had a slow start.
Which is useful to know, right, if you pick it up.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to have hurt the overall love for the book, but still.
Yeah, maybe that slower start actually helps. Lets you get really immersed in their lives before things intensify dramatically.
Could be. And we even get insights from Kindle highlights, right? Specific lines people marked.
Yeah, those are fascinating. Like this one. I always thought it was what I wanted, to be loved and admired. Now I think perhaps I'd like to be known.
That suggests a real shift in perspective, doesn't it? Maybe brought on by the war, wanting something deeper than just surface admiration.
A real aha
Uh,
moment, potentially. And then there's, but love has to be stronger than hate, or there is no future for us.
wow. That feels like a core message of the book, right? Hope, resilience against all odds.
Definitely a key thematic statement. The power of connection.
And the last one you mentioned.
Yeah. Don't think about who they are. Think about who you are and what sacrifices you can live with and what will break you.
This speaks directly to those impossible choices people faced, the moral dilemmas.
Forces you to confront your own values, your limits. It's about the internal battles as much as the external ones.
It helps to know a little about Kristin Hanna herself, #1 best-selling author, lots of books.
Yeah, quite a track record. And she used to be a lawyer, interestingly enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But she seems to have really found her niche in historical fiction, often focusing on women's experiences.
That focus seems deliberate and clearly connects with her readers.
It really does. It suggests a genuine passion for telling these kinds of stories.
And just quickly, the Nuts and Bolts, published by St. Martin's Griffin, this edition came out in April 2017.
Right, the paperback reprint. And it's a hefty one, 608 pages.
Yeah, a commitment. But the Lexile measure, HL 740L, suggests it's pretty accessible reading for adults.
Good to know. So, okay, wrapping up our deep dive on the Nightingale, what's the takeaway?
Well, it's clearly this incredibly resonant historical novel set in Nazi-occupied France, focusing on these two very different sisters, Vianne and Isabel.
And it's achieved massive success, both critically and with readers. Just huge popularity.
It gets praised for, well, lots of things. The compelling story, the characters you really connect with, the emotional depth.
And especially, it seems, for exploring female strength, resilience, and those really tough choices women faced during the war. It clearly leaves a mark.
Absolutely. So this deep dive, drawing on all that feedback and information, it gives you a really solid sense of why this book struck such a chord.
Exactly. Even without reading every page yourself yet, you get the essence of its appeal. Maybe it sparks your interest to read it or just gives you things to think about regarding those historical themes.
Right. And on that note, maybe a final thought for you to consider. Looking at everything we've discussed, the reviews, the themes, the emotional impact, what parts of the wartime experience, especially for women, do you find most compelling? Or maybe what parts do you think still need more attention in how we remember history?
Yeah, something to ponder. How these individual stories really shape our understanding of those vast historical events.